Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be doing the intro component with the sign up form. So you can head over into frontend meta.io/challenges. You can click on this card and then we can begin. And I already downloaded the files, that's why I don't have my download button here, but if I say visit challenge hub, I can download them again. I'm not going to do that because I already have them, and if you navigate into your downloads folder once you've downloaded them, then you're going to have this zip file that says intro component with the sign up form master. So I'm going to right click on this and say extract here, which is going to extract into this folder, which I'm going to right click and say open with code, which is going to open up an instance of Visual Studio Code into this folder. And as that opens up, let me also open up the design files that we have so that we can take a look at the desktop design as well as the mobile design. So once this opens up, you can see that we have our mobile design here. We're going to have some text on the left with a form on the right, and then on mobile they're just stacked one on top of the other, and then of course we have a background image. Now if we take a look at our workspace, we have the design files here, we have the images that we're going to need, and then we have the getignore, index.html, and so on and so forth. So because we're going to be building this in React, the first thing that I want to do is I want to open up my terminal using Ctrl and J, and then as it opens up, once it opens up, then I'm going to create a new React application, and I'm going to say npx create React app, and then I'm just going to say dot, so just create it within this folder. So I'm going to let this run, and then once it finishes running, then we're going to continue. Oh, oops. So we run into an error that says the directory contains files that could conflict. So let's do this. Let's say npx create React app, and then let's just say, let me just call it solution and let it run. And so once that finishes running, you can see that we have our solution folder here, which is our React application. And as we begin, I'm just going to say cd into solution, which is our folder, and then I'm going to say npm start, which is going to start our dev server on localhost 3000. Now in this project, we're going to be using a package called Formic, which is going to help us to build out our form and add our error states to the form. So if you head into formic.org, you can say get started, and then if you go into tutorial, and then you go into a simple newsletter sign up form right on the right here, then we're going to be using this template to begin with, but we're not going to be implementing it now. We're just going to build out the UI first, and then once we build out the UI, then we're going to implement Formic. So let me begin by going into our solution folder, and then inside my source folder, I'm going to delete the app CSS, the app test.js, the logo, and these three files. So just delete them. And then I'm going to go inside my index.js and remove this remove this part because we have deleted the file, and then save it. And then inside the app.js, I'm going to remove these two lines on top, and then I'm going to remove this as well. And then, you know what, let's just return an h1 that says hello world and save it. And then once we save that and we take a look at our application, then we should see hello world. So I'm going to place this to the right, and then I'm going to place my code editor to the left, and then I'm going to go inside my index CSS, and then we're just going to remove this part and remove the margin from the body, and then we're going to go into our all selector, so asterisk, and we're going to reset the margin to 0, reset the padding to 0, and reset the box sizing to border box so that it removes the default margin that everything has. So let's go ahead and into our style guide, and then let's see what font we're going to be using. So we're using Poppins with the 400, 500, 600, and 700 font weights. So just say control click, which is going to open up this link, and then let's go ahead and get the 400. Where is it? We need the regular 400, not the italic. So 400, 500, 600, and 700. And then let's just use the import tab here. Let's just copy, and then let's paste it inside our index CSS on top of this, paste it in. And then we're going to change our font family to say use Poppins with a fallback of sans serif in case this fails to load. So let's go ahead and save this, and then let's open up our application once again, and you can see that now our font changes. So let me place this to the right, and then let's begin to build out our home page. So I'm just going to go inside the app.js, and our entire application is just going to be inside here because there's really no use to extract components from them because it's a small application. But I mean, you can do that if you want, really. So let me go ahead and do this. Therefore, let me check first of all, what images do we have? BG intro desktop, BG intro mobile, and then the favicon, and then the icon error. So we are going to do this. We are going to do this. I'm going to copy this entire images folder. So copy and paste it inside my source folder. Paste it in. And then I'm going to do the same thing. So just copy this and then paste it inside my public folder. Paste it in. But then inside the public folder, I'm going to delete the icon error and these two, so that we're only left with the favicon. And then I'm just going to drag the favicon outside of the images folder, so that now the images folder here is going to be empty. You can see it's empty, so you can just delete it. And then what I'm going to do next is inside the images folder, I'm going to delete this favicon. So the images folder inside the source folder. So delete this favicon because we're not going to be using the favicon inside here. And then we're only going to remain with BG intro desktop and BG intro mobile. And so what we're going to do therefore is this. I'm going to return a fragment, and then inside here I'm going to return a section with the class of showcase. A section with the class of showcase section, really. And then inside the section with the class of showcase, I'm going to return a div with the class of overlay. And then inside this div with the class of overlay, I'm going to return an article. And then this article is going to be this left side. So the H1 that says learning, learning to code by watching others. Remove this full stop. And then we're going to have a paragraph that says this text. So let's just go into this index.html file, and then we can copy this paragraph instead of typing it out. Oops, it should be here. So paste it in. There we go. And then what else do we have? We have nothing else. So this is going to be the left article, and then the right article is going to be our form. But before our form, we actually have this tag on top. So let me just add it in as a paragraph with a class of tag, because we're going to need to style it. And then this is going to say what? Try it free 7 days. So this is bold. See how this is bold? So I'm just going to place it inside a strong tag and say try it free 7 days. That's how it is. Okay, and then outside of the strong tag, we're going to say then $20 a month thereafter. There we go. And then now below this article, sorry, below this paragraph, not the article, below the paragraph, now we're going to have our form. So let me have our form inside here with a class of form, so that we can style it out in our CSS with no action. But then inside here, we're going to have the following. We're going to have an input. So we're going to have an input here with a type of text that says first name, so capitalized, with an ID that says first name. And then that is just going to be it for this one. And then we're going to copy it down. So just copy. And then this next one is going to say last name. So here, type of text, this is going to say last name. And then this is also going to say last name. And then you know what? I forgot the placeholder. So the placeholder text. And the placeholder text is this one right here. So last name. And then for this one, the placeholder is going to be first name. And then just copy this and paste it downwards. Then we have an input with a type of email, with a name of email, with an ID of email, and then the placeholder is going to say email address. And then finally, we're going to have another input with a type of password. So input type password with a name of password, with placeholder that says password, and then the ID is going to say password. There we go. And then finally we have a button with a type of submit. So button with a type of submit, that is going to say claim your free trial. Fantastic. And then below this button we have a very small text that says by clicking da da da. So what we're going to do is right below this, we're going to have a small tag, and this is just going to say, let's just go into this file and copy this part. copy and paste it inside here. And then what I'm going to do is see how this text here is red. It is red and this other text is grayed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this part and paste it inside a span with a class of red, and then just paste it in, so that we're going to style it out to look like this, and it is also bold. And that is pretty much what we're going to have for our HTML structure. So let's save this. And then if you take a look at your application, then we should be able to see all of this. You can see that it looks quite horrible, but we're going to style it out. And so you know what, let me place this back to the left. And then inside our index CSS, what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the class of showcase, and then I'm going to add a background here. And the background is going to be an image, so passing the URL, and it is coming from what is it, /images /bg intro mobile. And when I save this, we should be able to see something. You can see that we have the mobile images here. Now you can see that we have our background image. It is showing, so this means that the body has a background color according to the design. So we're going to have a background color here, and then let's check our style guide to see what we're going to use. And it should be red, should be this one. Oops, this one. Copy, and then let's paste it inside here. Let's test it out. Is it? And that is the correct. You can see that our background image is technically showing, but it's just a bit smaller, right? So what we're going to do therefore is this, and I've just noticed something. In HTML, the inputs and the buttons don't take up the font family of the body unless they are specified to do so. So because I want every other element to take up the font family, then I'm going to cut this out from here, and then I'm just going to put it here, so that now everything is going to take up the font family. You can see that now the font family changes appropriately. So now the next that I want to do here is I want to set the background repeat to no repeat on the image. Okay, and I don't know whether you can see the effect of that, but look at this now. Now the background image doesn't go all the way to the end because it doesn't repeat. If I were to remove this, remove it, then you'll notice that now the background image reaches here and then starts again and then starts again, and so on and so forth. Now I don't want that to happen, so we add a background repeat of no repeat here, and then I'm going to set it to the center and cover so that it takes up the full width. You can see that now it kind of takes up the full width, but it's too small because we are still using the mobile image here. And we're going to add responsiveness so that we switch this to the desktop image. And you know what, let's actually do that next. Let's just copy this part, and then let's add a media query where I'm going to check for a min width of 768 pixels, meaning we are saying that when the device width is greater than 768 pixels, which are tablets, then we want the showcase here now to show the desktop image. So save it, and what you'll notice is when I scale this up to right around 768 pixels, now the background image changes to the desktop image. You can see that it changes, but if you scale it down right around here, it is not the mobile image. So that is the responsiveness that we have added. Now let's go ahead and do this next. Let's set the, let me set the height here to 100 viewport heights. And once I do that, you can see that now the background image spans 100 viewport heights. But what you'll notice is that on mobile, viewport heights are not correctly supported. So if you leave this in and your content is able to be scrollable on mobile, then it's going to give you a shaky feeling. So in order to avoid that, then you can use a function in CSS called calculate. So calc, where you're going to take 100 viewport heights if you wanted to span 100 viewport heights of your device, and then take away a negligible amount of pixels or whatever, so that the height now is now evaluated in pixels instead of viewport heights, which are much better supported. So let's save this, and you can see that the change is so small that it is negligible. You can't even see the change. And then remember how we structured it? We had the showcase and then the overlay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to access the overlay, and then I'm just going to say display flex, and what you'll notice is that now everything is placed in raw form. And because the overlay consists of two parent articles, so it has the parent article here which has the form, and then the first article here which has the h1 and the paragraph. That's why it places this one on the left and then the form and everything else on the right. So what we're going to do now is, because we don't want this type of UI on mobile, then we're going to change the flex direction to column. so that now they're stacked one on top of the other, and you can see that nothing really changes. And then I want to say align item center, which you can't really see the change here because they are aligned in column form. And then I'm going to say just for contact to the center, which is going to push everything to the perfect center. But once again, you can't really see the change here. But if you want to move this to the perfect center now, to the center of the screen, then you need to add a fixed height to it. So I'm just going to copy this part and paste it here, so that now everything is going to move to the center. And that is what I want to work with. But before I continue, actually, I want to add some bit of padding on the top and bottom of about 3 rem. 3 rem on the top and bottom, and then 1.5 rem on the left and right, so that this pushes inwards as well. And we are going to have that. And the reason why I have this padding on the top and bottom is that when this content is scrollable on mobile, then it doesn't like overflow outside where you can't see it. So you will always be able to see it when you scroll on mobile. Now let's go ahead and get this H1 and change the color to white. So we're going to say that for the overlay, and you know what, I can just do it inside the overlay. I think if I say set the color here to white, yeah, let's just do that instead of having to do it for every single element. And of course, we're going to change it inside here for the form. Don't worry about that. But let me move this right out here. And then let's now access the H1. So overlay H1, increase the font size. Font size, increase this to about 2 rem. And then let's set the margin bottom to 1 rem, pushed away from the paragraph. And then let's access the overlay paragraph. Oops, overlay paragraph. And then let's set the margin bottom to 2 rem, pushed away from this text. Oh, this is also a paragraph. Oh, the overlay paragraph accesses all the paragraphs inside the parent of overlay. So even this one is accessed. So let's go ahead and now let's grab this paragraph, which has a class of tag. So I'm going to say that for the class of tag, I want to give this a background color of, let me see, should be, is it blue? Let me see, is this in, is it this one? Okay, that is the correct one. And then I'm going to say this, I'm going to give this a padding, and I'm going to give it a padding of 0.3 rem on the top and bottom, and 1 rem on the left and right. Okay, let's increase this to 0.5, and then let's give it a border radius of 1 rem to give it rounded edges. That's too much, right? Yeah, that's too much. Let's reduce this to about 0.5 rem. That's better, that's better. And now let's increase this padding to 0.8. That is looking nice. And then let's add a box shadow here, because it has a box shadow, a very slight box shadow, you can see it. So let's give it a box shadow of, what is a box shadow? Half VOF. So horizontal, so 0 pixels on the horizontal, 4 pixels on the vertical, and then 0 pixels on the blur, because I don't want it to blur. And then let's give it an RGBA color of 000 and 0.4. Let's see how this looks. That's almost correct. So let's say about 6 pixels, 7 pixels. That's looking okay. I mean, that's almost close to this, except that this opacity is a bit too much. So let's say 0.2, 0.3. Yeah, let's work with 0.3. It looks okay. And then now let's do this. And I've just remembered something. Let me give the paragraphs here a line height of 1.8, just so that they are spaced out just a bit. It's very small, but it actually helps, especially when you're on mobile. Now let's go ahead and get the form. So we are going to go inside the class of form and give it a background color of white, so hashtag FFF. And then we're going to give it a padding of, let me see how this looks. So it is an equal padding around. How does it look on mobile? So on mobile, the padding here is just a bit smaller than the padding on the left and right, but we can make it equal just so that it looks the same. So let's say padding of 2 rem all around. Yeah, let's work with 2 rem, and then let's have a border radius here of about 1 rem. How does it look? How does it look? No, let's use the same border radius that we had here, which was 0.5 rem. 0.5 rem. Does it have a box shadow? It does have a box shadow, so the same one as this one. So let's just copy this and paste it here. So that is the box shadow. And then now let's go ahead and deal with with the actual form. So inside the form here, let me just go on top of this, let's say display flex, and you can see it's going to align everything in row form, which we don't want. So we're going to say flex direction and change it to column, so they're stacked one on top of the other. And then I'm going to say give this a gap of about 1 rem to separate everything out. Looking nice. Is 1 rem okay with the design here? Yeah, 1 rem looks nice. And then now let's target the input. So for the form and then the inputs, then we are going to say give this a padding of about 0.8 rem on the top and bottom, and 1 rem on the left and right. And then give them a border radius of 0.5 rem, 0.5 rem. And then we're going to give them a border of, let me say, about 2 pixels and solid. And then it has like a gray color. See how it has a gray color? Let's go ahead and check if we have that color here, grayish blue. Copy this one and paste it here. Is it the correct one? That is the correct one, but this is 1 pixel, a bit smaller. Yeah, that looks okay. And then for the input, we want the font weight to be bold, and then we want the input placeholder text to be bold as well. And you know what, let's also say letter spacing. Set this to about 0.1 rem just to increase the letter spacing a bit. So let's say 0.05 because 0.1 is a bit big. 0.05. Yeah, let's work with that. That looks okay. And then move this. Wait, not that one. Move this one upwards. That looks okay. That does look okay. Let me see. How does this look? That looks okay. Oh, wait a minute. This text is aligned to the center. I didn't notice that. Let's get our button next. So for the form, we want to get the button. We're going to give the button a background color of green, and green is this one. Copy and paste it here. We're going to give it a font size of 1 rem, and you know what, even the inputs should have a font size of 1 rem. So font size 1 rem to make them just a bit bigger. And then we're going to give the button a color here of white. So color, change it to white. We're going to give it, going to remove the border that it has, so border none. We're also going to remove the outline that it has, so outline none. Then move this upwards, and then we're going to change the cursor into a pointer. And then we're going to say text transform uppercase to make the text of the button uppercase. And then we're going to increase the letter spacing, so 0.1 rem. Save it. Let's see how it looks. Almost there. Let me see. And then it is bold in font. So font weight. Oh, wait. Yeah, font weight should be bold. So font weight, change this to bold. And then let's increase the padding of the button. So right around here, let's say the padding to 0.8 rem on the top and bottom, and 2 rem on the left and right. And then you know what, the border radius should be here as well. So border radius, make this about 0.5 rem to keep it consistent with everything. And then it needs to have a box shadow as well. So let's copy this box shadow and paste it here. Let's see that. So that looks almost okay. So let's change this. This RGBA should be the green color of the button. HSL, this one. And you can see that it is barely visible because now it has an alpha value. It doesn't have an alpha value. But if I increase the alpha value here, or you know what, let me not increase the alpha value. In VS Code, you can hover over this, and then it brings up this color picker. So let's just drag it down a bit, and it's going to make it darker. You can see that it makes it darker. That looks okay. And it's actually almost consistent with the design as well. Maybe this one is just a bit darker, so let's reduce it a bit. And then there, yeah, let's work with that. And then remember how we have a small tag here? We have the small tag. So let's access the form and then the small tag. Oops. And then let's change the color for this to HSL. Should be the gray color. This one, is it this one? That is that the correct one actually? Okay, yeah, that is the correct one. And then now let's access the form small and then the span inside. Remember we placed a span inside. We're going to change the color into color into HSL, so the red color, and then I'm going to change the font weight bold. And there we go. Would you look at that? And then you know what? This text should be aligned to the center, but this is not going to work because this is an inline element. So even if I move this upwards, it's still not going to work. Oh wait, oh, it works. Well, I was proven wrong, but that's okay. It happens. And so that is our UI. And the next that I want to do is, and actually, you know, let me check something. Let me check something on mobile here, just to make sure that everything is working correctly. Let's check the Galaxy Fold is the smallest. Yeah, this happens. See how you can scroll but you can't technically see everything? It's because of display flex and the fixed width that we had. So right here, if you remove this, it should fix it. Does it? There we go. So by removing this, then it fixes. Now we can see the entirety of the content. And I still don't understand why this doesn't get pushed in a bit. Why doesn't it get pushed in? But this one does. Let me check the, which is the one, the 360. Which is it? Is it this one? Yeah. So you can see that this looks okay on an Android screen, and on an iPhone it does look okay as well. And then this padding, the padding on top here is the padding of 3 rem that we added. Now let's go ahead and add responsiveness to this by placing them side by side. So let's go ahead and let's add a media query right around here. And you know what? It's actually on the showcase, is it? No, it's on the overlay. So for the overlay, then we're going to say display this as a grid with grid template columns to repeat twice and 1 fractional each. Remove this extra comma, and now we should see 1 and 2. And then here I can set the height to calculate. Actually not, I can just set the height to 100 pixel height, which pushes everything to the center. And then you know what, let me also add a max width of about 1200 pixels that it limits everything. And then I'm going to set the margin to auto so that everything pushes to the center. And then let's access this H1 to make it bigger. And you know what, let's also add a grid gap here. So let's add right around below this a grid gap of 2 rem, separate them out. And then let's access the overlay H1, increase the font size to 3 rem. How big is that? That looks okay. And then let's access the overlay paragraph, increase the font size to 1.25 rem. That looks okay. Probably this shouldn't be as big as we are seeing it, but it works okay. And then now let's go ahead and now add formic to our form so that we are going to be able to add validation to it. So I've opened this up on a guest window because I don't want to be able to leak my information accidentally, but you can see that this is what we have. And I don't want this to happen because I want this color to change. So let's go ahead and just change that color before we begin. So right around the form input here, let's change the color for this into the HSL gray, so this very same color, and that should fix it. Or it doesn't. Wait, what is the placeholder color? Wait a minute. That is not the correct color. It should be the grayish blue or the dark blue. Sorry, it should be dark blue. Copy this and paste it here. That should be the one. There we go. That is the correct color. So now let's go ahead and install formic. So back inside our workspace, Control J to open up our terminal, and then let's add another terminal here. And remember to cd into your solution folder because the solution folder is the React app. And then we're going to say npm install formic. And then as that installs, what we're going to do is the following. If you go into the documentation, then you're going to see that we're going to be importing use formic from formic, and then we are initializing the variable called formic, and then we pass in some initial values here for the email, and then we have our submit event here, which is just going to throw an alert with the values that you've entered into your input. Now, of course, we don't want this alert to show up, but technically you can make it show up if you want. So what we're going to do therefore is this. We're just going to go back into our app.js, And then on top, we are going to import, what is it? Import use formic from formic once it installs. And then right below here, we're going to do this. I mean, I can just copy and paste, by the way. So let me just go ahead and do that. So let me just copy this part here, copy, and then below this, I'm going to paste it in. And then for the alert here, I don't want to show the values that I've entered inside our input. Instead, for the alert, I'm just going to pass in a string and say form successfully submitted. And then the initial values here, we're going to add in a bit more. So we have our first name, and then we also have the last name. And this should be an empty string, sorry for that. So an empty string. And then the email is also an empty string. And then we also need the password, which is going to be an empty string. And then in order to use that, then we need to add the on change here. We need to add the on change on the input as well as the value. So let me just go ahead and copy this part. And then let me go inside the first input, which is here. So paste it in, but remember to change this into the actual value of the input. So this is the first name. So first name. And then this function here is coming from formic. So it handles how the input changes the value when you type in the value. And then I'm just going to, let me see, we're just going to paste it here, change this into last name. And then we're going to paste it here. This can remain email because this is the input for the email. And then paste it here and then change this into password. And then save it. Let me see. I hope everything works correctly. We can test it out here. So let me just test it out. Let me add in my name. Can't even type my name. Let me say email at example.com. And then let's say claim your free trial. Now, what should happen is we should now receive an alert that says successfully submitted the form. So let's try it out. And nothing happens. Okay, so something is wrong. Something is wrong. Let me see. Let's go back into our documentation and let's check this out. This is HTML4. Oh, you know what? Here we need the submit on the form, the on submit event. So copy this, and then inside our form, let's paste it here. That should now do it. So let's test it out once again. Example at gmail.com, and then let's see. And there we go. So form successfully submitted. Okay. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to add some error states so that when we try to submit the form without passing in any values, then we should have some kind of error state here that shows something like first name is required and so on and so forth. So we can do that in formic. If we just scroll down, then where is it? The validation. Where are you? Okay, it is so validation. So if you scroll down to this part, then this is the form validation that we're going to be doing, which is basically checking whether first name exists, whether it is not empty, and if it is empty, then it's going to throw an error that says this part is required and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to type all of this out, then I'm just going to copy this part from here all the way to here. So the entirety of this validate function, copy it, and then I'm going to paste it. Let me see, is it on top of this? Paste it on top. And then I'm going to remove this else if, because we don't need this else if, and then remove this else if as well. And then for the email, we actually need the else if, and then I'm going to add another one. So copy this part and paste it here and change this into values.password, because we also need to check whether our password is empty or not. So password. And then for the error state, we're going to say password is required. And then for this part here, we're going to say email is required. And then this is going to check for, so this is the regex that checks for whether the email entered is valid or not. And if it is invalid, then it's going to tell you invalid email address. And then this part here, we're going to say last name is required. And then here we're going to say first name is required. Change this to capital. And then now we need to call this function right here. So below this, we're just going to call the validate function. And that should do it. Let me see, am I missing anything? So we are calling the validate function here. Okay, that should do it. And then now what we need to do is we need to add this part here. So we're just going to be showing the error state here. So copy this, copy that line, and then below there's our input here. So below this input, this is the first name input. So we are saying that if there's an error on the first name, then we're going to display a div with the error, and our error is currently here. So this text inside here. So that's what we're doing. And then if there's no error, then it just displays null. And then we're going to do this for every single input that we have. So copy this, paste it here, change this to last name. So Control D to select both text, change this to last name, and then below this, and just say Control D, change this to email, and then below this, finally Control D and change this to password, and save it. And if everything worked correctly, then we should be able to see our error states. So let me try and submit the form. You can see that it is right here. See, it is white in color. That is the problem. So actually, let's go ahead and fix that. So inside this div, I'm going to give this div a class name of red. And now the class name of red is actually this one here that we have actually styled. So that should work correctly. So just copy this and paste it here, and then paste it here, and then paste it here as well. And that should do it. So we should be able to see if it reloads. Reload. There's nothing. Let's try and submit the form, and it stays first name is, wait, why is it still white? Why is it still, oh, you know what? It is because this red is not applying on this, on the class, because the red we are planning, where is it? Oh, wait a minute. I didn't style the class of red. I styled the span. I styled this span. I didn't style the class of red. So let's just remove this from here. We don't need it anymore. And then let's go ahead and below this, let's just specify for the class of red to have a color of red. So copy this and paste it here. And that should do it. There we go. So first name is required, last name is required. So if you try to submit the form without this, without filling anything in, then it throws you the error state. And then when you fill it in, then you can see that the error state disappears. Example at email.com 1 2 3 4. And there we go. Would you look at that? That's looking quite nice, if I do say so myself. Now what we need to do is just submit this. So let's go back into Frontend Mentor. Now I can close this, and I'm going to go into Frontend Mentor. Let's say submit solution, and then let's open up GitHub, and then let's also open up Netlify, because we're going to need to deploy this. So inside GitHub, I'm going to create a new repository, and I'm going to call this repository intro component. So create new repository, call it intro component -yt. Is this is going to confuse me. So let me say intro component sign up -form. It's a long name, but it's much better than having one that is going to confuse you. So intro component sign up form. So create repository, and then we can copy this part, and then let's just open up our terminal. So Control J, and then you can close this and close this. So Control J once again, and then let me just say git. Oh, wait a minute, that is going to be a problem. That is going to be a problem because the solution folder already has a git folder inside it. So let's navigate into this folder. So inside this folder and inside solution, you're going to say this .git file inside here. So just delete this file. And by the way, if you can't see it, it's because it's hidden. So you need to enable hidden files so that you are able to see it. So delete that file. And then now you can say git init here. And you know what, let me just, to be safe, let me just get rid of that terminal. And then let me say git init. There we go. And then I'm going to say git add design, and then git commit -m, and I'm going to say design files. And then let's say we don't need to have the images folder, so that is irrelevant. So let me say git add solution, which is going to add everything inside the solution folder. And I'm going to say git commit, and I'm going to say project complete. So that is the solution folder. And then let me see. I hope this is going to be an issue. Oh my God, why did I do that? It's going to be an issue. No. Let me just add everything else. So git add all and git commit. Let me say initial commit. And then let me say git remote add origin and paste in our link. And then git push dash u origin main. And it should push it to our main branch in our repository. So let's just wait a moment. Okay, so once it's done, then let's navigate into our repository and reload. And I hope, okay, it's not an issue. Okay, I thought it was going to be an issue, but it's not. So let me go ahead into Netlify and then let's say import new site from an existing project from GitHub. And the repository is called intro component. Let's just search for that. And then let's say it should be this one. So intro component site and form. And then let's say deploy site. And then let's wait for a moment as it deploys, but let's remember to change the site name. So change site name here. Let me change this into TsbSankara. Let's say intro component dash sign up dash form. Too long, so sign up. Intro component, or should I say intro sign up form? Let me say intro sign up form. So save this. And then once it deploys, then we should be able to see everything. Has it deployed? What? It has deployed. What? It has deployed this without our CSS. Wait, did I deploy the correct site? Did I deploy the correct thing? Wait a minute. I deployed this file instead of the solution folder. That is the problem. Oh my God, I was about to, So we need to change it. Where is it? Build and deploy. We should be deploying manage repository. No, we should be, where is it? Edit settings. The base repository should be solution. It should be / solution. Is that the correct one? We should be inside the / solution. I hope that is the correct one. So let's see. Let's say trigger deploy site. Let me see whether that is going to work. No, that did not work. There's no way that worked. No way this worked. Yep. Let's see what is the problem. It says there's an issue somewhere. So let me change the base directory once again into solution. And then let's run the build command npm run build. I think that should do it now. Let's go back into deploys. Let's say trigger deploy. Okay, so this should now fix it. So let's go back and let's try to view our site here. Let's see. Wait. Why does it say it's not found? Oh, come on, Netlify. Are you serious? Okay, that's enough. Let me do this. Let's go ahead and delete this. Delete. I am not dealing with this anymore. So let's do this. Let's run the build command ourselves. So cd into solution. And then let's run npm run build. And then we're going to deploy the build folder that is going to be created here. So let's just wait a moment. I know what, as we wait, let's go ahead and delete this site once again. So site settings, danger zone, delete. and delete. Okay, and then we can close this page. So creating an optimized build, so let's just wait for this to finish, and then we're going to say add new site and say deploy manually. So we're going to drag and drop the build folder inside here, and the build folder should be this one, but it's not yet done, so let me wait for it to finish first. Okay, so once it finishes, then we should be able to see our site. So let's just go ahead and open this place and drag and drop this build folder here. Oops, no, drag and drop. There we go. So uploading, and then let me wait for to see the thumbnail first of all before I change the site name, or let me try and visit it, and we should see. Okay, now there we go. Okay, so now change site name and change this into TsbSankara and say intro sign up form. Deploying that took longer than expected, but you know, sometimes it happens like that anyway. And yeah, so now let's copy this link and go into Frontend meta for the live site URL, paste it in, copy this part and paste it inside, where is it, here for the repository URL. Then let's change the title into mobile first intro component with sign up form in reactjs plus forming. There we go. So submit solution, and then let's wait, and there we go. And now we can say view solution to see what we have against the design. So this is the design, and then this is our solution. So you can see it's almost close to the design, just a few things here and there, but anyway, it looks quite nice. It does look quite nice. So that is going to be the end of the video, and if you enjoyed it, then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and ring the notification bell so that you're always going to be notified of when I upload a new video.